to make anything happen, so we all wait and see
Plenty of time.
if anything will happen. All right, speaking of quarterback situations, this one's a little more figured out in some ways. Let's zero in on the Giants. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston already in the QB room. As you see there, them taking Jackson Dart in round 1 of this year's draft. Now, many have said on this show Dart shouldn't play right away. Here's Joe Shane, the GM, on the plan for Dart this season.
We went through with Josh Allen. We had a little bit different quarterback room at the time, but he was going to sit his rookie year, and then halftime of the opening game, we were getting smoked by Baltimore, so we put him in, and the rest was history. So that plan didn't go as well. But we didn't have a Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston in the room. So again, Jackson's going to come in. He's got to learn the offense. There's a lot to learn. These NFL offenses are hard to grasp and pick up and then be able to go out and execute. So, you know, the ability for him to learn and sit behind two consummate pros already will be beneficial for him. And then, you know, if his number's called and he has to go out and execute, he's going to need to be ready.
Anybody else kind of sense he's leaving the door open there to see him a little earlier? I don't know. We'll see. It's not often that a quarterback picked in the first round does not start at all in his rookie season. From 2015 to 2024, there were 35 first-round quarterbacks. You see a couple of them on the screen there. Just 2 of them didn't start a single game their rookie year. One of them was J.J. McCarthy, who was hurt last season. The other was Jordan Love, who was sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. So it kind of shows you that it's likely we'll see Jackson Dart at some point. Jeremy, what are you hearing about the Giants' plans at QB?
That the stage is set for Jackson Dart to sit an extended period, and that's ultimately what the New York Giants want. Russell Wilson's in pole position to be QB1. It's similar, I'm told, to his Pittsburgh situation, that the job is loosely yours. As long as you continue to produce and earn it, then you can keep it. Now, we know in the NFL that could change week to week in a hurry. But the fact that they added Jameis Winston as well, the fact they feel stronger across the roster, particularly on defense, where that defensive line should be really good, they feel like they can win games with just capable, turnover-free quarterback play, that they don't really have to rush this. The feeling I get talking to other teams is that Dart was one of the quarterbacks in particular that did need some time coming from Ole Miss system. So we'll see. Pressure could change things, but for the most part, their blueprint is to sit Dart for a while.
I know, it's a totally different story if they're not doing well and the fans start clamoring. Tim, you think Russ makes it through the season with Dart there?
I don't, because look, there's 2 teams that are definitely better than the Giants in their own division. And so, like, that's pressure enough. And so the pressure is going to be there. And the Giants are one of the most patient organizations in the NFL. Look, when Eli Manning, ended up there, look, the plan wasn't to play Eli right away. They had a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Kurt Warner as their starting quarterback. But ultimately, they wanted him to play. They wanted him to develop. And, look, the reality is like starting the back half of the season, his rookie year, prepared him going forward. And so, look, I'm not saying that the plan is going to be exactly the same, but look, it makes sense it's easier to get better while you're playing than watching somebody else play. He's got all kinds of talent, Jackson Dart does. He's got plenty of time on task. He's not one of these quarterbacks that's come into the NFL with 20 snaps or 20 starts under his belt. He's experienced. I don't think there's any question. We see him as the starting quarterback at some point this season for the New York Giants.
All right, now wait a second. I think our viewers are pretty smart cookies, but just in case you missed it, Tim was in all those vintage Eli. But there we go. Thank you very much. Hey, Tim, look at you.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know.
A lot more hair.
That was pre-comb over.
A lot more hair.
Yeah, the pre-comb over there. Oh, yeah, thanks, Steve Wood. Okay.
You look great, Tim.
Listen, that hat went on quicker. There it is. That's what we're looking for there. Looking like that's a tough look there. It's not an athletic look, not at all.
No. Here's what we say about Tim is the fact that your head looks great, so you're lucky because not everybody can say that. All right, go ahead, D. Wood. What do you think about the Giants situation at quarterback?
Yeah, listen. I don't put a timetable on any of these guys. We've seen guys be successful both ways, whether they play right out of the gate or guys that sit a while. I think it really depends on the prospect, how well they digest information and goes out there and applies it on the field. I'm old enough to remember in 2012, Russell Wilson, a rookie, coming in and dethroning Matt Flynn, who had just got paid by the Seattle Seahawks, and he became the starting quarterback his rookie year and went on to win Rookie of the Year. So I think it all depends on the quarterback. I know the Giants want to sit him and let him develop. But again, to me, it depends on the prospect.
Yeah, he's also a lot of new faces in Seattle on this offense, especially. Tim, are the Seahawks in position now to contend as the top team in the NFC West?
I mean, I think they are. And look, they just added a quarterback who's 28 years old who threw 35 touchdowns last year. And Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, is going to do things that are very familiar to Sam Darnold. Like, I would expect him to play great. Look, does Cooper Kupp need to stay healthy? Yeah, that would be a massive, boost to them offensively. But I love the additions on offense. You mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence. So, let me get this straight. You had a quarterback that threw 35 touchdowns and an elite pass rusher.
Yeah.
Those are good signs to what really was already a talented football team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They've got length, they've got speed, they're well coached on that side. I like what Seattle looks like a lot, and I think Darnold does well there.
Yeah, listen, I think the biggest question for me as it relates to the Seattle Seahawks is they got to fix their offensive line. Their offensive line was definitely below average. That unit really needs to come together. We talked about the draft pick, Gray Zabel, from the first round. He's going to help solidify the interior of that offensive line. If they can get the offensive line fixed for Sam Darnold on that rushing attack, this Seattle Seahawks team is going to make noise because they have a plethora of young talent on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, the most interesting wrinkle on this offense could be the addition of quarterback Jalen Milroe as a backup. Jeremy, what are you hearing about the team's plan to use Milroe's skill set, especially his legs in this offense?
Well, Laura, the expectation is the Seahawks will have a package ready to go for Jalen Milroe to utilize his dual threat ability, particularly his running ability. Now, Sam Darnold's going to play 95, 98% of the snaps this season, no doubt. But they want to find a way to get Milroe on the field while developing him behind the scenes. The feeling I get from scouts around the league is that if you give him 2 years and don't rush him into full-time action, he could be really, really good with his ceiling if he masters the passing game. But there's also a real possibility that he's QB3 going into the season, that if Sam Darnold will get hurt, they have Drew Lock, the veteran they're familiar with, could step in and start games. But regardless, Milroe is expected to see the field at some point.
Listen, I don't think it should be a surprise to see this happen around the National Football League. So many guys coming to the NFL, that were really good runners because of their size, strength, ability, and then what they're used to doing in the college game in terms of, reading plays where maybe they're handing the ball off, maybe they're the designed runner. And you just look at, I don't want to say that Jalen Milroe is Taysom Hill, but with what the Saints did with Taysom Hill, there isn't a defensive coordinator in the league that wouldn't acknowledge that Taysom Hill is a massive problem to defend. And Taysom Hill at one point was trending to be only a quarterback. And so, look, you never know which direction it'll go for somebody that has got a very unique skill set and how a team is going to, try to develop and design package for him all at the same time. But look, he's one of those players that if you